Gretchen in Oakland leading us off today here on Willard and Dibs. Hey, Gretchen, what are you doing?
Hey, I was just checking in, but I have to say, first of all, I love Al Michaels, so he just makes me feel that all is right with the world. But second of all, I think it all has to do with, I'm a big fan of low expectations. If you look at what happened with Brock, the reason everybody was so over the moon about him is because we had zero expectations that he was going to do as well as he did. Yep. And so everything was fantastic. And then, Bosa, you have huge expectations, and then you get disappointed with maybe one sack. So I think it all has to do with keeping expectations low and being super happy when things go well instead of being disappointed that they didn't have a complete blowout with the Giants. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Gretchen, and thank you. However, what I guess I would add is if you wanted a blowout, it felt like some of you walked out of the building going, they didn't do it. And I would argue that 18 points in the NFL is an unbelievable blowout. Now, I know it didn't feel that way the whole game. You wanted them to just be 21-zip at half. And it was 17-6. And Brock was wobbly at times in the first half and feeling out what the Giants were doing to him. They had an interesting game plan. He's a young quarterback, and they were like, we're going to jump in his lap on as much as possible and see if we can shake him into a mistake. It's a smart game plan. He didn't make the mistake. He almost did, but he didn't.
Yeah.
And then he figured it out, and then they were good. I don't know, man. For me, that's good enough. 30-12 is about what I was thinking this would look like.
Right, and I don't know what constitutes a blowout in people's mind. To me, a blowout is anything that's, 3 scores, and 18 is not quite 3 scores, I guess, or 3 touchdowns.
Okay.
Depends what kind of a score you're talking about. 3 safeties would be a 6-point difference. Right, that would be 3 scores.
Anything north of 16. Like, it's 3 possessions.
Sure.
They would need 3 possessions in order to tie the game.
Right, 30-12, and just the feel of the game was such that it never felt like the Giants had the upper hand or were going to have it. I will say this, the opening drive for the Niners in the second half was a little bit shaky. They had that fumbled snap. I don't know who you give the blame to, whether it was a snap that Brock never got or if he just dropped it, but that's twice now that Brock has had trouble on a center exchange, something to keep one eye on, and then you end up with you get a kick-catch interference on the punt, and then Lenore commits a PI. So over the span of like 5 or 6 plays, they made 3 pretty significant mistakes that you hate to see. Ultimately, it didn't cost you the game, but the Giants did get their lone touchdown, and it was based in large part on those 3 consecutive mistakes.
Yeah, they gave him an incredibly short field. I think the drive started on the 37-yard line.
37, yeah.
Yeah. So you give an NFL team that short of a field, you'd be shocked if they didn't at least get points.
Right.
I mean, you should absolutely, at minimum, get a field goal.
And it's a 22-yard PI on Lenore, and he just never...
It was PI.
He just never turned around. You could see him kind of frustrated with himself right away, and then Breida the Cheetah goes in, and it's like, oh, geez, okay.
Well, it's
got a ball game.
I will tell you, this is also interesting because that PI was, again, same corner. That's
Your corner.
Right in front of where we were sitting. Darren Waller is an absolute Amazon of a human being. And so sometimes it's fun to get up close to these people that you watch on TV and get a better sense. And so, sure, it was a penalty. I'm not excusing Lenore. I do think when you end up one-on-one with an Amazon, sometimes you're like, yeah, you're looking for an edge because, he doesn't need to be open in order to catch the ball.
Yeah.
You could just throw it right over the top of Lenore's head. He's huge. So he got caught. He tried to grab him, keep his arm down a little bit. He got caught. But you're right. Yeah, that drive is exactly the kind of stuff, the only stuff that the 49ers can't do against a team like the Giants. They did it. It's a good thing they only did it once, so they were able to keep everything in check. Mike and Hayward next up on Willard and Dibs. Hi, Mike. What's up?
Hey, Willard and Dibs. Hey, so I got a few things to say. Number one, first half I wasn't really too impressed, but I don't think anybody expected the Giants to blitz like crazy like that. Second half, they made their adjustments and they looked much better. Secondly, I'm glad to see Bell got to get that touchdown, and personally, I'd like to see how he would do returning the kick. He did pretty good in the preseason, so I'd like to see a little bit more of him. And then thirdly, Shanahan is never the blowout guy. He's happy with having a 2-possession lead and running the clock out. Thanks. I'll take your call or your response off the air.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, thanks. Shanahan's never the blowout guy. Of everything he said, that one sticks out to me. I got to think about that for a second.
I think what he was saying, not that Shanahan wouldn't like to have a blowout, but just the way he coaches, he loves possession, and they did it again. I think they had, 37 minutes of time of possession. I have the number here.
Well, yeah, he likes to run the ball.
39 minutes.
Yeah.
He likes to possess it and play a little bit of keep away and use field position. He's not out there trying to, quick strike. His offenses aren't known for that. So I think that's maybe what Mike was saying.
And pretty smart, too. I mean, you even a good defense needs to rest. So getting first downs, very valuable. We know that he likes to run the ball. His last name is Shanahan.
Right.
However, here's one thing I would say about this. In 3 games, would you or would you not agree that Kyle Shanahan this year has looked just a tick more aggressive? Like, you've criticized him in the past for not, like, you want him to be a little more go for it. And when I think of things like the quarterback sneak right before the half against the Rams, the 4th down play on the opening drive in Pittsburgh, or even yesterday, you say he's not the blowout guy. Well, he's up by 2 scores. It's 23-12, and you get the ball, and what'd they dial up? They didn't try to plod their way to another field goal. They hucked a one-on-one 30-yard seed to Deebo Samuel in the corner of the end zone and put the game on ice. That's aggressive. That's aggressive enough for me.
Sure. I'll give you half a tick, I guess.
Okay.
Because, it's not like he's out there going into hurry up and throwing it all over the park. It's just not what he does. He likes to run, and they played a ton yesterday of different personnel, and Warner got a lot of snaps, and you had Eli Mitchell. We mentioned that hopefully he was going to get some play. He had 28 snaps out there. Ross Dwelly played 12 snaps. So you saw a lot of different people on the field. Ray got 38 snaps, largely in place of your guy, B.A. Brandon Ayuk. Ronnie Bell, 31 snaps. So I think Kyle yesterday approached it thinking, let's just go out there, use everybody we can use, keep them as fresh as we possibly can. You had McCaffrey only played 61% of the offensive snaps. So everybody who's been crying in their cereal over you're overusing him, well, they didn't overuse really anybody. You had George Kittle played 83%, Deebo played 82%, but all these guys now get 10 days off before the next game. So I thought Kyle did a very good job of mixing and matching his personnel, but also what you said about keeping the D fresh. They only had 50 snaps on defense, Mark. 83 snaps on offense.
That's the deal.
50 on defense.
You know what's funny, though? You bring up McCaffrey and Eli. So Eli comes in and gets 11 carries. Doesn't everyone, okay, much better. That's how you keep Christian fresh. We got to rotate.
Yeah.
He's got to be ready for January because through the first 2 games, the guy was averaging 23 touches a game.
Yeah, that's too many, Mark.
We got to lower that. So how many do you have this game, Dibs?
I see, 5 catches and, 18 rushes, 18 with 5, carry the 1. He had 23, Mark.
Exact same number. 23.
But these were a lot easier, these carries,
I mean, he had all those plays on the sideline when he was, he would have been out there, running around and not doing anything.
And he was running people over again. He was stiff-arming rookies into the ground again. So
I said it on the crossover. I get it. I'm terrified of everybody being injured. Like Deebo, when he lays down for a second, we sort of read that one right away. We're like, I gave a quick oh no, and Christy was like, I think he got the wind knocked out of him. And we saw the replay, and I go, oh, I think you're right. I think he got the wind knocked out of him. And then, as it turns out, I think he's confirmed that now. That's what happened. But
because he was listed as ribs.
Yeah, well, I think he said, I thought it was my ribs. And then I went to the medical tent, and everything checked out just fine. So I think maybe it was the wind or whatever. He said that after the game.
Reminded me a little bit of Rod Tidwell from Jerry Maguire, where he's down.
Time.
And all of a sudden, he jumps up. It's like, oh, thank God, Deebo didn't quite jump up and dance and celebrate, but when he walks to the sideline, I think everybody in the stadium let out a collective exhale of like, okay, he's okay.
Here's the Deebo on that play.
I actually fell on the ball, and I thought it was my ribs. I think the wind got knocked out of me, but after going in the 10 and everything, check it out, find out I was good.
Yeah, really good to go. Good to go. But I get it. When you see one of those names, I mean any name, but if it's a Trent Williams, a McCaffrey, a Deebo, an Ayuk, I ain't even going to bring up the quarterback, a Kittle, a Warner, a Bosa. If you see one of them down, it's like, hey, stadium, stop. Stop what you're doing for a sec. Yeah,
really quick, Kyle Shanahan has said today Deebo had his ribs checked out, no break. He's pretty sore today, so they're listing him as day-to-day at the moment.
All right. Well, there's where it's good that the Niners played on Thursday night. You got an extra 3 days to get ready for their next game in a week and a half. But, yeah, it stops you. It stops you. But as a fan base, it makes me laugh. We got to stop all this contact.
Yeah.
We got to then choose another sport. That would be your option.
Well,
choose another sport.
Choose another approach, because these guys, and I think you can say Kittle, McCaffrey, and Deebo primarily, not that Brandon Ayuk plays soft at all, but the three guys formerly named in this bit are physical, and they want, like Christian McCaffrey is looking for you so he can show you his stiff arm and put you in the ground. George Kittle loves contact, and we saw Deebo Samuel. He's out there trying to break every tackle he can.
If when I die, I go to hell, I've decided it's going to be George Kittle giving me a stiff arm. That thing is lethal. I cannot tell how many linebackers, because it happened again last night, and that was Kittle's best game of the year by far. How many linebackers have you seen? Kittle gets the ball, and they're like right on him, and then that arm comes out, and they just are like whack.
Yeah.
They just go flying. That thing, remember the 4th and 2 in New Orleans a number of years ago? That stiff arm is lethal.
Yes.
But you're right. They love it. They look for it.
And that's what this team is built on. It's built on physicality, both sides of the ball. Dre Greenlaw flagged for a late hit, which
debatable.
That was
debatable.
I mean, of all the calls, I thought the refs, Sean Hockley, son of Ed, did a great job, his crew, but that was the one where it's like the player's still in the field of play, and the whistle hasn't gone yet.
No whistle.
No whistle. Yeah. Player still on field.
Standing up.
Not tackled.
Right.
And he's supposed to not come in and pop. But that's what Greenlaw does.
I would argue, too, and I know that by the letter of the law, was it Williams who got flagged for unnecessary roughness on Purdy? Is that who it was?
Yeah, that was body weight.
Okay. Letter of the law, correct call.
Yep.
So I'm not blaming the refs. But I have absolutely, you and I have had this conversation. It's a terrible rule. It's like...
I'm sure Brock's like, good call.
Yeah, good call.
This dude's 312
and I'm
pounds.
sure that a 320-pound man, you're like, okay, get your body weight going as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Go get that guy. And when you get there, stop your body at momentum. It's not possible. I know you're supposed to do some sort of like there's a fire, stop, drop, and roll. I don't know what they're supposed to do. So, yes, good call, in my opinion. Bad rule.
Sure.
Or, at minimum, one of those rules where you're asking defensive players to do something that at times they're just not going to be able to do.
Right, and that's a lot of rules in football, and Trent Williams actually got 3 penalties yesterday. One of them was for ineligible man downfield, and he's supposed to know instinctively off the snap that I can only get a yard away, and you're supposed to be able to feel how far that yard is, and he went 3 or 4 yards down. It was a pretty easy one to call, but those are the other ones where, go out there and play full speed, but you got to be able to see eyes in the back of your head when the ball comes out, and then you're able to go more than a yard down. It's tough.
Very, very tough. And it gets seemingly, I know he's an offensive player, seemingly to me it gets harder on the defensive players every year in this league. Mark in San Jose on Willard and Dibs. Hey, Mark, what's up?
Hey, guys, how you doing?
Good, man.
So every championship winning team has to have a cast of characters, right? You have to have your really, really good guys, and then you have to have your good guys. Niners have that right now. Now, the other thing is Brock Purdy, he's 23 years old. It's only his 11th game. Kyle Shanahan is giving him the ability to make his own decisions when he's out there. Being a quarterback is more than just throwing the ball and handing it off, right? You guys know that. People should know that. So Kyle Shanahan, from what I understand, wouldn't let Trey and wouldn't let Jimmy call timeout. But he's letting Brock call a timeout. on the field. Now, I don't know if it's just a philosophy change, but to me, that means he has that much confidence in Brock Purdy and what Purdy is doing.
Well, Mark, I would, and thank you so much. Great call. I would answer that this way. We're beyond it being offensive to just, Brock Purdy's a better player than Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance.
Yeah.
So when you achieve something in any job, and you have shown, oh, you can do this, and then it's like, oh, you can do that. Oh, you can do that. Well, then the boss gives you more rope. Gives you more leeway.
Right.
Starts to give you more responsibility.
Maybe when Brock starts losing games, if that day ever comes, maybe he loses his ability to call timeout.
I love when
you have to put that caveat out there.
You do. And I still feel like, as much as I know that probably 88% of you are fully on the Brock bus, but like, he's never lost a football game when he played in it. That's absurd.
Right. Third longest streak to start a career as a starter in terms of winning streak. Big Ben we know about.
Yep.
Mike Tomczak, I hadn't realized
really?
had. Yeah.
That's
this is
crazy.
something that the Niners released in their overnight notes.
Okay.
And I think he won, is it 12 or 13 to start his career? And so here's Brock now sitting at not counting playoffs.
Yeah, well, like, I'm adding in, obviously, the 2 playoff games, and I give him the Miami game because it was first quarter. But yeah, the number of actual regular season starts, I think, is now, is it 8 or 9? It's either 8 or 9. That's the technical.
8.
Okay.
8. Tomczak had 10.
There you go.
Roethlisberger had 15. So, and this is consecutive wins by a quarterback to begin a career since 1970. He's at 8.
Jeez.
Tomczak had 10 with Chicago, which it's hard to remember that. Post McMahon, that was in 86 and 87. So they win the Super Bowl, best defense ever. McMahon out, Tomczak in. He wins 10. It wins 10, and then since then they haven't had a quarterback.
I did enjoy this. I didn't get the gentleman's name, but I ran into a listener when I was getting a Stella and some nachos last night at halftime. And he's right behind me, and he's like, Willard, right? Hey, and he shows his phone, and he's got the Willard and Dibs app up, and he's listening.
Nice.
And I'm like, fist bump, man. Thank you. Really, really appreciate you. And then he leans over. He goes, hey, I want to tell you something. I go, what's up? He goes, Purdy's overrated. And I looked at him, and he just kind of gave me a wink, and then he's like, yeah, we're good. I'm just kidding. I'm like, I was about to come after you, man. We were about to do this right here.
That's funny.
So if you're listening, I didn't get your name, but it was good to...
You better be careful.
Totally.
And then David Maraza, super chat. Is the offense better than the defense yet? I know how you'd answer that.
Oh, no. I mean...
Yeah, not yet.
I mean, just
They're both pretty good, though.
No, both very good.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's a debate on a 3-0 team tells you that your team is probably pretty good.